Alright, this is my review of Kamen Rider Kuuga. If I skip an episode, it just wasn't that memorable enough for me to write anything down. Okay, second episode in. Why does the Bat Monster have nipple piercings? This is a kid's show? I think I don't know anymore. I think it's really cool. His transformation starts with him just getting busy, straight hands and feet, and the transformation starts coming to life. I can tell this is going to be a silly one. Why did he give the police officer that was giving him crap earlier all laid under him on the rooftop? Humiliation ritual things. Episode 4 is where he turned his swag on, I guess. He slapped this monster lady with his back tire doing a reverse wheelie. Episode 9, this monster dude had explosive sludge. He spits, and the way it's edited made me laugh something real crazy. Episode 10 finally made me have a connection to the show. So we get this touching moment where he sits down with his sister, who looks like a baby Jun Kazama, with the way her bangs are set up, and she tells him that she's scared that him doing all this transforming will change him completely to something no one recognizes. Also in this episode, he gains a power that doesn't feel random. Blue felt super random, green felt super random, but purple didn't, which is what he unlocked in this episode. He had went to practice kendo with his friend, and amongst the sparring, he just decided to just tank headshots, not defending himself, until he walked his friend down to the wall and finally got one clean strike. Then, when faced with the enemy, he turns purple and employed the same strategy, just tanking all of the spit the monster threw at him and just stabbed him. No fancy stuff, just straight execution. Also, forgot to mention there's apparently this collectible these collectibles that the monsters have that carry around bracelets with charms that signify how many humans they've killed. Episode 16, not 16. Episode 18 was so whack. What do you mean the drag queen gave Kuuga the kiss of death while his mask was on and now he's in the hospital? It just felt super underwhelming. But the way he twitched like an actual bug, dying, was pretty entertaining. Episode 19 should have been called Revival, the way he resurrected on the second day to beat some ass. In base form, mind you. I knew he meant business when he smashed Buddy Head through the window. He came back to tussle. Fired up his rider kick until it worked. Very cool. Very hard. Episode 23, we get 2 aura moments. One from this lady with the sickles, who one-shots these 2 humans and tells them not to turn around, and their heads fall off. The second aura moment when Kuuga takes one of her sickles and turns it to his own weapons and walks her down. Episode 23. I'm 20 seconds in and chuckling to myself because they're doing a workout to like some 90s rap in full English, and I was just taken aback seeing it unfold. The song was Around the Way Girl. I'm not going to play it in this video, but I was thoroughly tickled, and they ended the episode with a nice motorcycle choreography, and we get to see this other writer who just wanted to test Kuuga's abilities for himself, or at least that's what I gather. Also, I'm noticing Kuuga keeps getting power boosts and upgrades almost every 3 episodes. It feels as if they smashed Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super into one season. That's the amount of new forms he seems to be getting. Episode 30 had a very emotionally charged moment where this guy who went into a coma and was really was I right? I don't even know what I wrote. He was hating on Kuuga because he felt like he had it easy having to fight these monsters for some reason. But the doctor was not going to baby this guy and started telling him he wasn't going to be nothing in life but a bum because of his attitude. I also would like to say that they've done a pretty good job demonstrating that the monsters he's fighting are getting stronger. He had 2 run-ins with the monster he fought, and it showed that Kuuga wasn't able to deal enough damage without going level 2 red. This is so funny. I had to play it back and make sure I recorded this. This shit was so funny. He ugly. Nah, that's crazy. He even had help from his police buddy who started quick scoping the guy. Episode 31. I still don't really get the game the bad guys are supposed to be playing. Granted, I don't pay full attention all the time. All I can see is that they have varying amount of humans to kill with random time limits. I've yet to see them explore what happens when they fail to kill a certain amount of people. I wonder if they'll explore that later on. I can't really believe they use reruns this entire episode. For the entire episode. Episode 31 got really lazy, I guess. The cool motorcycle murder at the end was pretty cool, but it doesn't make up for all the recycled content they use. Episode 32, they just had some good motorcycle chase scenes. Episode 34, I can't tell you anything about the episode except it ended with a triple wheelie slap that satisfied my soul. Episode 35 was pure perfection. The monster of the week had been making his rounds trying to get 90 kills, and then that was a moment where Kuuga had seen the victims, and they weren't just adults. They were school children, children who never had a chance, and this visibly upset him. He's crunching up his hands, and the police get a tip. They're trying to chase him down, but they just can't pinpoint where he is because he is toying with them using his snaps and kind of teleporting to throw them off. His trail, when Kuuga finds him, and he just jumps out the window with him. This was so crazy. He's just beating the brakes off him. Then he's hitting him so hard he's bleeding. You rarely see the monsters bleed on here, but it was added to the emphasis that he really was chasing him down. That he really was, beating him up. And then he got on his motorcycle and it looked like he broke. It looked like he broke his shins at first, but he didn't. Then the porcupine guy tried to stab him. He just armored up and instantly proceeded to do the meanest walk down in the history of this show, just taking all the pins he was throwing at him, just slashing him to bits. They did a really good job of showing the anger. I was really locked in for the whole episode. Side note, I don't remember what episode it was on, but there was this one episode where Kuuga talked about he has a certain time limit to use his super forms outside of Red, and I don't think they ever touched on that again or him even showcasing him running out of time in one of his forms during a fight. Episode 39, the bad guy finally has fully absorbed his new power and turned black to get stronger. Kuuga and the cop he's working with both get their asses handed to him by the super powerful guy. We keep hearing him get mentioned, but we don't have any view of him. I also would like to add that I talked with my friend about watching Kuuga, and he also said he struggled with watching the show because they have pacing issues in some episodes. They'll have some great stuff going on, but then it'll maybe be 2 or 3 episodes where you sit there not really entertained because nothing significant is happening. I also would like to add another reason I feel Kuuga falls short sometimes is because it's supposed to be a buddy cop show, but Kuuga and the cop aren't buddies. They're just like coworkers, and it shows they don't do anything together outside of work, and that just means we don't really get to see much chemistry between the two, except for okay, let's fight together. I'll give you my gun to use to shoot somebody down. I think that there's not a lot of tension in this series. Kuuga almost died because somebody kissed him, and we spent a whole episode around the cops and them trying to figure out while Kuuga is allegedly dead and the cop is passing around messages to everybody that his heart has stopped beating and his body is cold. That was a good episode, good tension. But outside of that, I'm on episode 40 and nothing has even come close to that sort of pressure or realness that Kuuga faces any threats, but he may not win all of his fights immediately, but that doesn't come at much of a cost to him, but rather everyone else in his environment, because of his destructive power, can be so great that he can harm, the regular people around him. But he himself rarely gets challenged to any significant degree, even if he doesn't win the fight initially, because in terms of power scaling, Kuuga might as well be Dragon Ball Z. They add a new bad guy, and then Kuuga simply uses his willpower to create a new transformation like Green Lantern. By sheer willpower, they explained it in an episode that he just wished he was strong enough to beat the bad guy, and then the belt automatically made him strong enough to beat the bad guy. Which I appreciate them explaining that, but it felt unfulfilling to see it be so easy as him just making a wish. He does fight hard, I'll give you that. He isn't running circles around his enemy, but the fact he can just wish to be stronger and he could run around his enemy, all he has to do is keep wishing to be stronger than him and he will become that. Episode 41 had some very touching moments about this girl who wants to kill her classmates because she got taunted about her dead teacher and it made her really upset. The actor did a fantastic job, really making me feel her pain and sorrow. Episode 45 had one of the cooler transformation sequences in the end. He went to dive for a gun that was on the floor and then jumped up his green and was aiming his bow and arrow at the ready. Very Sugoi. Also, some very stupid stuff happened in this episode. So, right after that sequence of the police officer shooting the scorekeeper and breaking his Chinese calculator, they regroup at an ice rink, and the lady hosting the game tells the bad guy of this episode that he has to start all over because the cop broke his Chinese calculator. Why didn't they, I don't know, put it on paper or something? That was invented a long time before I think the Chinese calculator was. Don't fact check me, just let me rock. Episode 46 was solid because we got to see the cop in action without Godai, and he almost kills this Rhino guy, but he forgot to double tap him in the head while he was down to finish the job. So we get to see Kuuga turn Imperfect Black and defeat Rhino Man, and a massive but more concentrated explosion shoots up in the air. Episode 47 had a lot of build up. They gave us a flashback sequence that Kuuga really took a beating off screen to show that he really is dealing with someone serious, but nothing really happened in the episode. Episode 48 made you feel as if Kuuga wasn't going to stay alive by the end of the episode because the bulk of the episode is him saying his goodbyes to everyone he cares about, and then when he gets to the mountain, he tells the cop he's been working with if he turns into an unstable monster that he needs to shoot him in the belt because that's his weak point, and then we get to see the final fight. The presentation is nice. Godai tells the cop to watch his transformation, and we get to see his final form of the show, and he faces number 0. And they set each other on fire and proceed to slug it out. No defense, no dodging, not even an explosion at the end. They say in the next episode, Kuuga defeated number 0 by destroying his nervous system off screen, which felt like a huge disservice to the viewer to not even try to display what that kind of finisher would look like. Overall, kind of disappointed with this episode. You can skip the final episode, honestly. It's nothing but his friends and family reflecting on Godai and wondering where he went on vacation, and he juggles to entertain some children. Overall, Kuuga is a mixed bag. It was kind of hard for me to get into the first episode because it wasn't that great as far as I can remember. I remember a lot of episodes. If you don't see me mention them, oh, I already said that at the beginning. But yeah, that okay. I'll just read it off. It wasn't that many great episodes as far as I can remember. But like Kuuga has a few episodes where you just don't really think anything about him. I think Kuuga has the most transformations out of any Kamen Rider because it appears that Kuuga can rise to any occasion with a potentially infinite number of transformations. He has white, red, blue, green, black, and then he has deluxe versions of all of those forms except white. He has a total of 11 forms in this series, not including any movies. There was also a few things left unspoken in the show that they never answered, such as why the bad guys were playing the game. Why did they want the Kuuga to turn into the ultimate being of darkness? If that darkness, if that darkness was in his heart, they said in the final episode he would have turned into sand. So if Kuuga would have turned evil from the power, he would have turned to sand, then number 0 would have been unsatisfied, probably. Okay, let's see. I feel like they probably could have cut a few episodes and not much would have changed. They could have made a more condensed version of Kuuga, like how Dragon Ball Z had the Kai version. They could have cut some of the boring episodes. The Beetle guy should have been the final fight. Kuuga used multiple attempts to try and beat him, and it took a second episode and his researcher friends giving him shock therapy to make him strong enough to beat him. And yeah, that's all my thoughts on Kuuga.
Shout out the gang, I'm with Valentinos, rest in peace, Migo. Lost last one, 25-0. On to the next week, Elon Musk. His foundation for stopping next week. Trust, swallow got hands, it's something like a trophy or antique. Remember, so listen, drink is in my veins, microchips are in my brain. First I edge it, then I run it. Glitter chop just like a flash. I ain't get my rank for nothing. What we said, till we jet, then we jam the radio.
Overloaded on chrome, June, get back, fix that attitude. Come and touch and go blam, kaboom, or they came better, you can mess with the crew. We send you hot to the moon, sim to hell, obliterate down to the cell, no